Jessica Brevard, and this is Kitchen Table Productions, a show all about living well with low carb. Well, today's recipe is more in the hors d'oeuvre category. These are bacon olive toasts. Now these are so good that people won't even realize that they're low carb. Okay, now I'm starting here with 6 slices of bacon. I've cooked these until they're fairly crispy. I'm just going to tear them up. Put them in my little food processor here. There you go. Next, I'm going to add in a cup of ripe olives. See those? You probably could use green olives if you want. That'd be good too. I've got half a cup of green onion. My food processor here is looking a little full, so I'm going to give this a couple quick pulses to help get that volume down. That's a little bit better. Okay, I've got in here a half a cup of mayonnaise. Making messes with mayonnaise. I wanted to get that volume down because I got one more ingredient, a very important one in here. 1.5 cups of grated cheddar cheese. Hopefully you have a bigger food processor than I do. This one will barely do it. It's a 3-cup one. There we go. I've got a well-blended spread to spread on top of my toasts. Now, if you don't have a food processor, just cut up everything really small and mix it together. Okay, now I have here several pieces of low-carb bread. I want to toast them on one side only. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in my toaster oven here, 2 pieces together, so that they'll have a side touching. Now, if you don't have a toaster oven, just put these out on a single sheet pan and put them under your broiler for just a few minutes until they get nice and toasty. Alright, here's my toast. They're half toasted. As you can see, it's like raw on this side and toasted on this one. Now is the time that I can make some pretty shapes out of this. I can either use a nice cookie cutter, like this one, make myself some circles. You, of course, want to use as much of this bread as you can. Low-carb bread is generally a lot more expensive than regular bread. Other shapes I like to make. Most of the time, all I do is just cut these crusts off like this. And then just make triangles out of them. I get my maximum bread usage that way. If I'm going to be charged for the carbs anyway, I want as much as I can. You don't have to cut the crust off if you don't want. I just think it's a little nicer when you do. Now that I've got all my little shapes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little bread squares. I'm going to spread on my mixture here. I'm going to try to get all the way out to the ends. And try to get it fairly even. Then I'm just going to put it here on my baking sheet. If you're going to be serving these to non-low carbers, you can use regular bread. That works just as well for them. Not so much for us. Now you can spread on the paste on the bread first and then cut it into shapes. By doing this, though, it tends to be a little thinner on the edges, and then these edges can get nice and crispy under my broiler. Now if I wanted to, I could just take these, just like they are now, in a single layer, and put them in my freezer, freeze them for about 2 hours or so until they're solid, then transfer them to an airtight container. They'd keep up to a good 6 weeks or so like that. Then when I'm ready to eat them, like I'm going to eat these soon, I'm just going to take these, I'm going to slip them under my broiler for a few minutes. I want to serve these now, so I'm just going to slip these under my broiler for a few minutes until they're golden brown. Again, not going to give you an exact time on the broiling, because that's just the way broiling works. Keep an eye on it. There we go. When the cheese has gotten all melty and the edges have gotten all toasty, it's time to pull it. Now there they are. Don't those look great? Now I know I made a lot more than this, But this is what made it to the plate. These things are so good, people were snatching them off the tray just as soon as they came out of the oven. Now let's talk carb counts. The spread itself is about 14 carbs for all of it. Add that to the carbs you use on the number of bread pieces that you've got, and then divide it by the number of pieces that you've cut it into. That'll give you the rough carb count. Now the ones I made today worked out to be just a little bit over 1 carb each. Now the beauty of this recipe is that I can freeze these and then just pull out 1 or 2 whenever I want a little snack. Just throw it in my toaster oven, put it on broil. They're just fabulous, great warmed up. Now for this recipe and many others, please visit my website, kitchentableproductions.net. I'm Jessica Brevort, and this has been Kitchen Table Productions.